Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. I want to do a video today about 5 things that can make you a better investor and change probably, hopefully, some of the bad habits you've had in the past about investing and becoming successful, okay? And this is based on my past of well over 20 years now of being an investor, not only in stocks and mutual funds, but also a lot in real estate, cryptocurrencies. I've invested in oil wells, all kinds of good jazz. So without further ado, here we go. Let's get some notes. Need something to write on, right? So here we go. So 5 things. Let's go with my top 5 right now. First off, be a risk taker. You know, not many people understand how to take risk and how important risk is, right? But a lot of people don't know how to help mitigate the risk, right? But a lot of people are so scared to jump out. And there's so many people with those, I would have, if I would have or could have, I would have been worth this much, or I would have found success over here, but I just didn't do it, you know? And a lot of people don't want to come to the conclusion that it was them. They were the ones based on fear that were afraid of the outcome. Well, the facts are anybody that's successful has had more failures than they had accomplishments. So you need to stop being afraid of being afraid, all right? Now, with that being said, that's number 1. Here's number 2. Only invest up to 10% of what you want to invest in risky investments, okay? So that's one thing that's so important. That's called risk management, okay? It's one thing to finally get the courage up and go, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna invest in this, whether it be real estate, cryptocurrencies, stocks, bonds, whatever it is. You have to mitigate that risk, okay? So it's very, very important to only allocate 10% of your investment funds. I'm not talking about 10% of your take home. You have to decide how much money per month you want to put out towards investment. So only leave 10% of that money into a risky investment, because what happens if it fails? You still have most of your capital, all right? Okay, now that was number 2. Now number 3, have an emergency account. It is so important to have an emergency account. And the number I say, I have 2 different theories. When you're first starting out, it's so important to have a $1,000 balance in a savings account, not in a checking account, but a savings account that's separate from your checking, right? Why? Because I want it to be very difficult, and I don't even want them coupled. That's the most important thing, because a lot of people have a savings account coupled with their checking account, and the problem is it's there for that overdraft protection. You can have that by all means, but I want it to see $1,000 in an account that's separate, because if an emergency comes up, you have to make the conscious effort to dip into those hard-earned funds to take them out because there is an emergency, okay? Whereas if you had it linked, that account linked, what happens if an overdraft problem happens, it sort of, you know, gets pulled out of your savings, and you may not even be aware of it, and before you know it, some time goes by, and that $1,000 has been dwindled to almost nothing because of an overdraft issue, okay? So I want you to be conscious of your emergency fund, all right? Now, the next one, number 4, almost did this, number 4. It's along the same lines, but it's different, and that is save up 6 months of income. Now, again, I think that is important to have in its own account, but that one you can always have in your overdraft setup, okay? Because it is a much larger number. The reason why, and I'm gonna give you a specific instance from my life where this really affected me. I had 1 year's worth of income saved up off to the side for an emergency, a catastrophic emergency, right? Because I had taken these topics that I'm giving to you and I was living it. Well, after a while, you become so successful by learning new investments, how to save, your savings just grows and grows and grows. And I had gotten to 6 months, and you know what? I said, the heck with it, I want 1 year. And I didn't even know. Ironically, I did it in case I needed it, but I never thought I would ever have needed it until a catastrophic event happened in my finances where a company started withdrawing half of my check, as crazy as that sounds. They said they had the right, it was an insurance company, that I'd signed up for some insurance thing, and half of my paycheck was getting withdrawn from me, and a tenant that I had that I totally loved, one of my rental tenants, she had actually passed away, and we were having a hard time getting the property rented again because of how everything went down. And so my finances were catastrophically affected. Little did I know that fighting with this insurance company through the courts was going to take darn near a year. And I dwindled that savings down to almost it being completely deplenished, and I would have had to have stopped making payments on bills. So that absolutely saved me. If I wouldn't have had that savings in there, because as you get bigger, you know, and a lot of people, I'm going to stick on this point for just a little bit of time because I think it's so important. Because a lot of people I'm telling this to might go, man, you almost had me thinking $1,000 was impossible, Ninja. Now you're saying 6 months. Well, the thing is as you do this, as you start taking on a little bit of risk, as you make sure that risk is mitigated, and then you have your emergency account, what happens, you become more and more successful because you find yourself going out and trying new things, learning new things, and your wealth grows, okay? Well, then when it gets to that size, to have that 6 months of an emergency fund is so valuable, not only because something bad could happen, but how about this? What if one of the greatest opportunities of your lifetime was presented to you? But what's the one thing that holds back most people's greatest opportunities? Is they don't have the money to do it. They don't have the money to either invest in it, or they don't have the money to be able to quit their job and go for it. That's why I want you to have 6 months. And if you could do a year, that's amazing. To be able to sit there and go, I quit, I am gonna try my hardest for this new business, or I am gonna move to this country right now and do this, and be able to have the peace of mind to have 1 year set aside, 6 months to 1 year set aside is amazing. It doesn't mean you dip into it. You try your hardest to pay your bills so that stays there. But if needed, it's there. And I think you're gonna find huge success there. And then last but not least, this is number 5. If you don't understand the risks of a specific investment, do nothing. I don't want you to do it. And that's the most important thing. And I think it's the most important aspect of this entire list, because people, sometimes doing nothing is more important than doing something, right? Sometimes we have to sit back and breathe. And what I like to do is I like to read up on 3 different authors or 3 different professionals' opinion on whatever I'm investing in, because not every person has the answer to every question. I for sure don't. And my point is that if I can get 3 professionals, whether it be reading their books, watching their YouTube channels, what I'm gonna get is the clearest idea or picture of the risks involved and the benefits, obviously, but more important are the risks in any asset class that I'm planning on investing on, whether it be real estate, crypto, stocks, oil, bonds, or sometimes just a new business opportunity. With that being said, guys, I thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you like it. If you don't, that's okay. Hit the thumbs down, twice. Then I'll make sure I got the message. With that being said, guys, the Economic Ninja is out. See ya.